Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here and welcome back to another video for Valorant, and today marks the official release of the game. Up until this point, it has of course been in beta. Some of you may have already been playing it if you got access or you got a key, but for those of you guys that haven't, the game officially launches today. And with that, they bring a new map, a new mode, a new character, which we're going to be speaking about today, and there is also the battle pass. So in this video, I want to turn our attention to Reyna, the new duelist character who is incredibly cool. She looks very awesome and has a rather unique set of skills. So we're going to go over all of that in this video. So if you do enjoy that, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below. Let me know if you guys are going to be jumping in today. Let me know if you have already been playing or if you're jumping in for the first time. And of course, if you want to catch more Valorant stuff, you can check out some of the videos we've previously uploaded. And of course, make sure you stick around for plenty more. But turning our attention to Reyna, as mentioned, she falls within the duelist category. Obviously, they are the fraggers on the team, really good at making those pushes, playing aggressively, and that resonates very nicely with Reyna's skill set. For those of you guys that are interested, in the background are some of the items you can get from her contract, some pretty cool, sprays and a really cool skin at the end of it. But I want to start by talking about her abilities, because on the surface, at least her first ability, her C ability, is pretty standard. But when it comes to her Q and her E, they work around a rather interesting mechanic. So let's start at the top. On her C ability, you have Leer. This is a move that, of course, you can purchase at the beginning of the round. And with this one, you basically equip an ethereal, destructible eye that you can then cast forward. Keep in mind, unlike some other heroes' abilities, you can't adjust the distance on this one. There is a fixed distance this will travel. It can travel through walls, so it travels very much like, say, Omen's Orb. But you send this out, and then when it reaches its destination, it functions basically like an actual eye, in that if it can see enemies and they are looking at it or in the general direction of it, they will then be blinded or nearsighted, obscuring their vision. Now it's worth noting this orb or this eye, as it functions, doesn't stay out for a very long time. It can also be destroyed, and it all works around both line of sight and what the enemy can visibly see. What I mean by that is if you throw the eye into a room and the enemy's back is to it, it also won't take effect. It is only when the enemy is looking at or in that kind of general vicinity of the eye that it will actually take effect. Additionally, if someone destroys it after they've been blinded, it will remove the blind or the near sight effect. Similarly, if they then turn away from the eye, it will also remove the effect. Or if they happen to kind of go around a corner or basically break line of sight with the eye, again, it removes the effect. So it is not a permanent blind, or it is not a kind of lengthy blind like some of the other ones you may have seen before. This is very much one of those things that you would throw into a room, quickly make a push, and you need to react relatively fast. It is not one of those things where you necessarily have a huge amount of time to think. However, again, given the quick nature of it, given the fact that it can go through walls, it is going to make for a very potent pushing mechanic. Now moving on from there to the Q ability, this is Devour. Now both the Q and the E abilities for Reyna work around a soul orb system, in that when you kill enemies, they leave behind soul orbs. Keep in mind they do not stay there indefinitely. You have a small window, quite generous, but at the same time it is not a huge window. But basically during this time you can choose to either use your Q or your E, since both of them work off of soul orbs. So that does of course mean if you haven't got any kills, both Q and E are effectively useless. So you do need to kind of factor in, it's much more kind of an aggressive playstyle, something that's going to have to hinge on your ability to get those frags. However, the way that Devour works is that when you consume one of the soul orbs, you will then rapidly begin healing for a short period of time. Keep in mind the heal that you get from this is 100, and this will begin by going towards your health. However, once your health is at max, it will then begin going into an overheal status, which effectively works as a shield. This overheal, however, only has a short duration. You can see that by the UI here. When this depletes or when this runs out, your overheal will also disappear. So assuming, for example, you were on 50 health and you then consume one of the soul orbs, you would get 100, which will give you the additional 50 health, and then 50 into your shield, which for that duration would mean you've got 50 shield. However, once that timer runs out, that disappears and you are just left with the health. So keep that in mind. It also doesn't give you anything more than 50, so you cannot exceed the capacity that you would normally have from a shield. Similarly, if you have a shield and you then go to overheal, it won't give you additional shield or additional overheal on top. You will always be capped at 100 health with 50 potential shield. But this is basically a quick reactive heal. When you think about it in combat sense, you could be running up to someone, you get the kill, you quickly consume the orb to heal up any damage you might have taken, so you can then go into your next encounter. It is, however, worth noting that there is a secondary function to this, which we'll come back to in just a moment, and this ties in with your ultimate ability. If we then jump over to your other ability, your E, this is Dismiss. For this one, again, it requires a soul orb, so it has to be done off the back of a kill. You'll notice that anytime you do kill an enemy, you have the option to choose between Q and E, assuming you have those both active. So it is one of those choice things. It's not something you can do both of. You have to, make that decision. However, if you go with Dismiss, it will make you temporarily intangible for a short duration. Intangible basically means that you cannot be shot. Keep in mind though, whilst during this animation, you cannot use your gun, so you can't suddenly become invincible and shoot the enemy. But basically, this allows you to get out. Again, if you think about it in a combat situation, you might run into a room, kill one enemy, quickly make yourself intangible so that you can then get away before the other enemy tries to kill you, and you can then reposition. It is, however, worth noting that because this is tied to an animation, when your intangible state ends, there is an ever so slight window where you are not intangible, but you haven't yet drawn your weapon, and you can be killed during this time window. So keep in mind, you're not going to want to be in the enemy's face for this. There is a window in which you are vulnerable when this comes to an end. Again, there is an additional function for this one, which we'll speak about in a second, because it all links in with your ultimate. So speaking about that, the ultimate is Empress. For this one, you will instantly enter a frenzy state. You enter this kind of cool, ethereal looking state. Looks very, very awesome. And when you're in this, it increases your firing rates, your equip, and your reload speed dramatically. You also gain infinite charges of Soul Harvest abilities, and if you get a kill, it will renew your duration on this ultimate. Now, if you want to see what that does to, fire rate and equip speed and reload, then take a look at some of these examples.
They will cower! They will cower! They will cower!
So, with that being said, going back to the previous two abilities, your Q and your E, they both have an additional function if you are in the Empress state. So assuming you have activated your ult and you're in the Empress state and you go to use your Q ability, what will happen now is that you will instead automatically begin siphoning from an orb. So let's say you kill someone and you're in the Empress state, you don't have to go and press Q. You'll actually see that you don't have the option to press Q because that has simply been removed from the UI. Instead, it will just begin draining the orb, and the only option you have is to press E. Now, keep in mind, if you want to press E, you're then going to interrupt the healing, but if you were just running around passively, you were low on health in the Empress state and you killed someone, then the healing is done automatically for you, which is pretty convenient. However, turning your attention to the E ability, which previously made you intangible, now, if you're in the Empress state, you become completely and utterly invisible. You will literally disappear. Again, you only have a very short window to use this, so you're not invisible indefinitely. You only have a very short time period to react. It's also worth noting that whilst you're running around, while you can't be seen, there are still very obvious audio cues. There's this kind of ethereal sort of sound, plus when it ends, you'll of course hear the ending animation sound and sort of her cackling. So to give you an idea as to what that would sound like, it's something like this.
The hunt begins!
Last player standing.
So, as you can begin to see, Reyna is a very interesting character, someone who has the potential to, make some pretty awesome plays, but someone that does need to be relatively reactive, given that half your abilities do hinge on getting kills and then having to react very quickly based on what you want those to do. So keep that in mind, but even just with your push alone, your Leer, the ability to kind of throw that around the corner or throw that through walls, that could make for some very strong pushes. Anyway, for the time being, that's a quick look at Reyna. That is some of her abilities, that's how she functions, and those are the things that we know about her so far. If you have any questions, by all means let me know in the comments down below, and be sure to keep it locked because we have more Valorant videos coming your way later on today.
One enemy remaining.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you can join the Arekkz Gaming Discord. We've got an awesome community over there with so many different channels for you to chat loads of different topics and different games. I'm in there, the team's in there if you guys want to chat with us, find people to play with. It's just in general a great place to be. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads.